In the modern world, there are countless people with special superpowers. Some can fly, some have super-sensitive hearing, some can control electricity, and Jesu is one of them. She has the ability to heal herself. Jesu's special ability was inherited from her father, but she was not happy to have superpowers. She always had to hide it. If she revealed her extraordinary ability, she would be discriminated against and put in danger. So since she was little, Jesu always wandered everywhere with her father. She never stayed in one place for too long. Jesu's father did all kinds of jobs to earn money to support her. One day, he decided to live a stable life so his daughter could go to college. He bought a small house and worked as a miner nearby. Now, Jesu doesn't have to transfer schools constantly. Everything went smoothly until the beginning of the new semester. There was a female transfer student who came to Jesu's class. She was rich and shy. Because of that, she was bullied and exploited by a group of mean girls. Her classmates all knew about it, but no one stopped it because they didn't want to affect the upcoming exam. Because Jesu felt indignant, she reported it to the teacher, but that only made the bullies more arrogant. The class president spoke up to stop them and was beaten mercilessly. Jesu was very remorseful for getting the class president involved. She really wanted to apologize to the class president, but she didn't have the courage, and then the excessiveness of the bullies reached her limit. Under the eyes of the whole school, Jesu fought with 17 of the bullies alone. Jesu didn't know what pain was. She fought madly with them. The leader seemed to have realized Jesu's strangeness. She trembled and slashed at Jesu. But the shocking thing is that Jesu's wound healed immediately, which was when Jesu knew she was different. The match ended with Jesu winning. After that incident, Jesu was expelled from school. Her father had to sell the house to pay compensation, and he had to pay a lot of settlement money so that the other parents would not report it to the police. Just because Jesu was not injured, she was accused of bullying the other kids. Now Jesu's father has just told his daughter that she inherited that ability from him, and her personality of not sitting still when seeing something wrong is like her mother's. The father did not blame Jesu at all, but felt happy because his daughter was a strong and kind person. In the end, they chose Zhongwan School as their new destination because only Zhongwan School accepted students with a history of bullying. Jesu and her father moved to live nearby so she could continue going to school, while her father opened a small fried chicken shop. On the way to school, Jesu's bus card ran out of money. Luckily, a male friend helped her. That young man's name was Bong Sok. He was also a second-generation mutant like Jesu. Bong Sok had the ability to fly and super senses. When he saw the beautiful Jesu in front of him, he couldn't control his emotions, which caused Bong Sok's body to float. He had to try very hard to make his body touch the ground. Bong Sok still couldn't control his ability, so he could only carry weights to school every day, which would help him not float. Because of that, Bong Sok couldn't run fast. He was often late for school and was punished to clean the toilet. Before the homeroom teacher introduced Jesu to the whole class, he had already oriented her towards her future path. Because Jesu had outstanding physical strength, the teacher encouraged her to take the entrance exam to a sports university. He also made sure that she would be allowed to use the gym alone to practice. Jesu was very grateful to her homeroom teacher. When she got into the sports university, she still had a school to study, and Jesu's father didn't have to worry about tuition. Bong Sok knew that the beautiful girl from this morning was a classmate who sat near him, so he couldn't control himself and wanted to fly away. Besides Bong Sok and Jesu, the third mutant of the second generation was class president Kang Hoon. Only Kang Hoon knew about the existence of another mutant because he and Jesu had similar abilities. Kang Hoon really wanted to be friends with her, and then the appearance of a mysterious factor disturbed the peaceful life of the mutants. The first person on the list to be dealt with was Jin Chan. He was a retired first-generation mutant and possessed outstanding physical strength, but in the end, he was thrown off a tall building and died on the spot. Bong Sok's mother deliberately opened a fried meat shop far from the houses, but because the food at the shop was delicious, there were still regular customers coming here to eat. Therefore, Bong Sok's mother's income was enough to support herself and her son. Jesu's father was preparing to open a fried chicken shop. Although it was a difficult period, he still tried to give his daughter the best. Kang Hoon's parents opened a small grocery store, and every day, the father waited outside for Kang Hoon to come home from school. Jin Chan's incident was a warning about the danger approaching the mutant family. The information about Jin Chan's mysterious death was taken down by the Ministry of National Security Planning. Although the Deputy Chief of Staff did not know what was happening, to prevent an incident, he still accelerated the progress of the new mutant breeding program. Bong Sok's childhood life was not much different from Jesu's, but his mother's life was much more miserable because Bong Sok's ability was already outstanding when he was just a child. His mother mother always had to carry him on her back and wrap him tightly. Then Bong-seok's mother found a warehouse in a relatively deserted place. One day, the butcher shop owner looked at Bong-seok on her back with sympathy. Bong-seok's mother thought she was insulting her son until Bong-seok's mother saw her mentally handicapped son. Only then did Bong-seok's mother realize that she had misunderstood. Feeling guilty, Bong-seok's mother went back to apologize to the shop owner. The shop owner advised her to let Bong-seok grow up on his own. That way he would grow up. From that day on, Bong-seok's mother began to teach him his first steps. Gradually, she knew that emotions would affect her son's ability, so she smiled less at him. When Bong-seok was 8 years old, his mother bought a house and opened a fried meat shop. Every day after Bong-seok finished school, he always had to go straight home. His only friend at that time was the Thunder Superman. Bong-seok, like other children his age, also wanted to be a hero, and he used his powers to show off his talents to his friends. The compliments made him very happy, but because of that, another child imitated Bong-seok. Unfortunately, that boy was seriously injured, which caused Bong-seok to be scolded by his mother. Bong-seok was very sad, so he went to the rooftop to cry. Unfortunately, Bong-seok was blown away by the wind. Luckily, his mother discovered him in time and saved her son. After that, she regretted it very much, and from then on, Bong-seok was no longer floating. At this time, Bong-seok was sad because he couldn't see Hae-soo today, when he suddenly saw her wearing a raincoat running fast on the street. But in the end, the two of them were still late for school. Bong-seok was also thrown away by Hae-soo, injuring his elbow. So the homeroom teacher punished the two of them to stay and clean up. In another development, the mysterious man went to an old bookstore, and as soon as he entered, he closed the door. Bong-peong sensed something bad, so he immediately turned the photo of him and his son down. He was an electric man and also a first-generation mutant, but it was not difficult for the assassin to disable the electric power. He just needed to pull the circuit breaker down. After that, Bong-peong took the battery to get energy. When Bong-peong took energy from the battery, the electricity in other places suddenly became unstable. Immediately after that, the two people rushed into a fight. While the mysterious man was recovering, Bong-peong quickly burned the photo of him and his son together. However, in addition to his superior physical strength, the mysterious man also had the ability to recover. At the time Bong-peong's son felt unusually anxious. That was also the time his father left this world. Although his face was burned, the mysterious person still had clues to find. Bong-peong's next generation. Back at school, Bo-gum was still confronting Kang-hoon. Kang-hoon saw him secretly following Hae-soo, so Kang-hoon immediately followed. Kang-hoon and Bo-gum went to the forest behind the school. Bo-gum wanted to beat Kang-hoon up, but in the end, he broke his leg and fainted on the spot. Although Hae-soo and Kang-hoon had similar abilities, their abilities were still different. Hae-soo was strong in endurance, while Kang-hoon was strong in destructive power. Because Hae-soo hadn't bought a gym uniform yet, she borrowed Bong-seok's clothes, and only then did she know his name. When Bong-seok heard Hae-soo calling his name, he wanted to fly away. It was almost time for evening self-study, and when the homeroom teacher asked about Bo-gum, Kang-hoon lied and said he had asked to leave early. Kang-hoon wanted to talk to Hae-soo many times, but she and Bong-seok were so close to each other that Kang-hoon had no chance. At the same time, news of the death of another mutant made Hae-soo and Bong-seok's parents worried. During self-study, Hae-soo and Bong-seok escaped to the convenience store, and the two talked more about themselves. Hae-soo didn't have a mother, and Bong-seok didn't have a father. While they were talking, they accidentally saw Bo-gum painfully leaving the school, which surprised Bong-seok. Bo-gum was a bully in class, but who had beaten him up like this? Bo-gum also wanted to enter the University of Physical Education, but unfortunately he was injured and gave up. After that, Bo-gum became reckless. He wasn't afraid of anyone, not even his teachers. At this time, Bong-seok suddenly thanked Hae-soo for the meal, but she replied that she should be the one. Thanks to Bong-seok, she had friends. At this time, Bong-seok said that he had no friends before, and Hae-soo had no friends because she had just transferred to a new school. But the surprising thing was that a beautiful person like Hae-soo actually had no friends. The two had many things in common, making them closer. Hae-soo had not yet told her father about her decision to study physical education. Bong-seok advised her to tell her father sooner. At first, he would be worried, but he would definitely support her completely. That was what his mother had told him. When the self-study class ended, it was time for Hae-soo and Bong-seok to clean up. Kang-hoon was a bit annoyed, so he reminded them. He even sulked and said that the two of them were really compatible. Hae-soo innocently replied that they were compatible because their families both ran shops and neither of them had any friends, but she didn't know that Kang Hoon was the same. While cleaning, Hae-soo noticed the wound on Bong-seok's hand. Feeling guilty, she helped him apply medicine and put on a bandage. That innocent action made Bong-seok fly up again, resulting in his clothes getting wet. When Hae-soo returned home, remembering Bong-seok's advice, she decided to tell her father about her plan. At first, she was reprimanded by her father, but after he knew that his daughter had decided to do so because she was worried about him, Hae-soo's father was very touched because his daughter had grown up. The next day, Bo-gum took a leave of absence. Bong-seok wanted to tell the homeroom teacher about Bo-gum being beaten, but Hae-soo stopped Bong-seok. Hae-soo advised Bong-seok not to worry about other people's business. The next day, Hae-soo continued to jog in the yard until evening. Seeing her struggling, Kang-hoon wanted to give Hae-soo water, but then stopped. Bong-seok was still cleaning on this side, but when he saw Hae-soo running in the dark, Bong-seok turned on all the lights to light up the yard. But because of that, Bong-seok came home late. The mother was surprised to know that Bong-seok came home late because he was helping his friend. She wondered when her son had a friend. The mysterious person through the photo had come to Jongwon's school. The security guard found this person suspicious, so he called someone. The next day, Hae-soo practiced with the homeroom teacher, so she had a late lunch, and there wasn't much food left. Luckily, Bong-seok still left some food for her. A while later, homeroom teacher asked Kang-hoon to go to the gym to turn on the ventilation fan for Hae-soo. Kang-hoon was about to leave when she arrived. Because this place was usually empty, Hae-soo innocently changed her clothes on the spot. This scene made Kang-hoon embarrassed, so he could only wait for her to finish practicing before daring to leave. When Hae-soo was practicing dancing, she fell. Kang-hoon was about to run over, but he was a step too late. Bong-seok, who was nearby, flew to her first. Kang-hoon was very surprised to see that scene. Hae-soo was also very surprised to see Bong-seok suddenly appear, but she didn't think much of it. After that, Hae-soo asked Bong-seok to hold her legs while she did sit-ups. Her breath kept blowing on his face, making him unable to stay calm. Bong-seok's butt kept flying up and down, and finally Bong-seok flew over Hae-soo's head. When Hae-soo was confused and didn't understand what was going on, the cleaner came. The two had to leave, so they had to put that matter aside. At this time, Kang-hoon came out. He angrily left a handprint on the wall and left. The next day, Hae-soo saw a new pair of shoes. She knew her father was encouraging her. During practice, Hae-soo remembered Bong-seok yesterday, so she pulled him out of the self-study class. After that, Hae-soo pretended to forget her shoes and asked him to go back to class to get them for her. Bong-seok left for a while, and Hae-soo followed. His footprints disappeared as soon as they reached the hallway. She immediately remembered the strange things she had seen. Hae-soo called Bong-seok in confusion, but it turned out that he had taken off his shoes to avoid dirtying the floor. Hae-soo said her guess. Bong-seok was so scared that he broke out in a sweat. He just laughed it off. Unexpectedly, as soon as he took off his backpack, Hae-soo immediately came over to help him put on the bandage. That unexpected action caught Bong-seok off guard, and he flew up. Hae-soo intended to give Bong-seok his bag, but it was too heavy, so she jumped up recklessly and successfully pulled him down. Although Bong-seok had his backpack, his emotions were still unstable. Seeing this, Hae-soo had to use her body weight to hold him back, but because she was shy, Bong-seok pushed Hae-soo away. But if Hae-soo didn't hold Bong-seok, he would fly up. Hae-soo didn't know what to do, so she ended up having to hold Bong-seok the whole way. Bong-seok's mother saw her son bring a friend home for the first time, and that person was an extremely pretty girl. Bong-seok's mother was so surprised that she didn't know how to react. She kept praising Hae-soo, making her embarrassed. Bong-seok's mother then invited her to a super giant meal. Hae-soo was very surprised when she saw the plate of food. Elsewhere, the mysterious person came to a hair salon in a commercial building. At first, the owner was still chatting happily until he asked if her children studied at Jongwon. Naju immediately switched to combat readiness. Naju's ability was to see through things and was a good marksman. The mysterious person was extremely miserable because wherever he hid, Naju could see him. Naju also hid guns everywhere in the shop. However, the mysterious person had the ability to heal himself, so it was only a matter of time before Naju was defeated. Naju said that he was only the second generation and Wu Gangbo would kill him. Until her death, Naju still did not reveal her children. The mysterious person did not understand why these people tried so hard to hide their children. On this side, Hae-soo called her father to inform him that she would be late. At this time, he received an order at the commercial building in the neighborhood. On this side, Hae-soo had not finished eating the fried pork dish when Bong-seok's mother brought out a very large plate of apples. At this time, there were guests coming to eat. Hae-soo asked permission to go upstairs to change clothes. After that, she still tried to finish Bong-seok's mother's plate of apples. Finally, Hae-soo apologized for testing Bong-seok's ability. Hearing that, Bong-seok showed her the weights on his legs and his special room. Bong-seok could not control his ability, so every time he lost control, Bong-seok would recite pi to calm down. Hearing that, Hae-soo said that she had not met him for long, but every time she met Hae-soo, she saw Bong-seok reciting pi a lot. She wondered if he liked her. Who would have thought that Hae-soo's teasing words would send Bong-seok flying straight up to the ceiling? A loud noise was heard. Bong-seok's mother quickly laughed and said that her house was being repaired. She did not know what her son was doing up there. Bong-seok wondered why Hae-soo did not show the surprise he thought, because, since he was little, Bong-seok had found himself very strange, but Hae-soo thought that Bong-seok was just more special than others. These words made Bong-seok and his mother very happy. It was already late. Bong-seok saw Hae-soo off for a while and then returned. Bong-seok's mother saw that and scolded him for not being tactful. Then she gave Bong-seok a raincoat and told him to quickly chase after Hae-soo. At this time, Bong-seok was afraid that she would get on the bus first, so he quickly flew over. Finally, Bong-seok caught up with Hae-soo, making Hae-soo very happy. At the same time, the mysterious person left the hair salon and met Hae-soo's father, who was delivering fried chicken. At this time, they didn't know anything about each other. The mysterious person showed Hae-soo's father the way and left. Returning to Bong-seok, he often had a dream about his father recently. Bong-seok didn't know if it was a dream or a memory, but he had never seen his father's face clearly. Today was Saturday, but Bong-seok still went to school. He used the excuse of going to extra classes to practice with Hae-soo. The two also discovered a strange handprint on the wall. They didn't know whose it was, so they ignored it. All afternoon, Bong-seok just watched Hae-soo practice without learning anything. Seeing that, Hae-soo threatened to tell Bong-seok's mother, which scared him. Suddenly, Hae-soo offered to tell him a secret of hers. She said she had fought with 17 aggressive female students, and Hae-soo also revealed that she had the ability to heal wounds very quickly. Bong-seok thought she was joking when he heard that, but after he saw Hae-soo's serious expression, Bong-seok also believed her. After he heard her story, Bong-seok understood why she wasn't too surprised about her ability. The next day, Hae-soo's father went to collect the money for the fried chicken last night. When he passed by Na-ju's crime scene, he noticed that the camera there was destroyed, similar to the previous two cases. To investigate, Hae-soo's father intentionally did a few small actions. He wanted to know which unit the person sent to investigate belonged to. After Hae-soo's father knew that they were from the National Intelligence Service, he immediately left. Bong-seok's mother also went to the crime scene to find out. She had the ability to see from a distance and found Hae-soo's father very familiar. All three victims were retired mutants. The deputy chief of staff of the security department also realized that someone had sent someone to deal with them. They were all agents who undertook top-secret missions approved by the United States. Although the agents had retired, they still existed as living proof, which was why they were hunted down and killed. Instead of preventing them from protecting the remaining people, the deputy chief of staff wanted to find out how many people the mysterious person would kill. On the day of Na-ju's funeral, the mysterious person also came to visit. He also revealed his name as Frank. Frank came here with the purpose of killing Na-ju's next generation. However, her biological child had long since passed away, and the children present at the funeral were all orphans adopted by her. Frank suddenly asked if she was a good mother. When he received a nod from Na-ju's son, his mood immediately changed. On this side, Section Chief Kim, who is also the principal of Jongwon High School, was called to the Ministry of National Security. He has been in charge of the Vice Chief of Staff's talent development project 10 years now. Today, the Vice Chief of Staff, Song-gu, called Section Chief Kim to remind him to protect the project's data well in the current unstable situation and wait for the right time to handle the data. At Bong Pyeon's funeral, the victim's body was sent to the National Court Forensic Service for investigation, so now Bong Pyeon's body was just brought to the morgue. Only Bong Pyeon's son was present at the funeral. He was still clutching the battery his father used during the battle. At the same time, a new female student was transferred to the school, a female student named Hee-won, who was bullied at Hae-soo's old school. Back in the past, during the electricity class, due to the high humidity, no one was able to generate electricity except for the boy Gildo. Gildo is the second-generation mutant of Bong Pyeong. The year Gildo was in high school was also the first year the homeroom teacher came to teach at Jongwon School. Because Gildo's physical test results were not good, the teacher advised Gildo to choose a career related to the entertainment industry. So after Gildo graduated, he went to the Thunder Superman audition to try his hand. At first, Gildo was a bit shy, so he did not impress the judges. Because Gildo did not want to lose the opportunity to work, he used his abilities. With that excellent performance, Gildo got the job. Everything was still smooth until Gildo was about to go on stage. He accidentally discovered that his rubber gloves were punctured, but he still reluctantly continued to perform. However, during Gildo's performance, the electricity from his hands damaged the stage lights. This incident scared the children and made them cry loudly. This was not the first time he had broken the manufacturer's equipment, so this time they decided to fire Gildo. On the same day, Gildo's mother passed away due to illness. Since Gildo entered high school, his father had not been with him and his mother, but he had always silently supported their expenses. Bong Pyong told his son that he had retired and opened a bookstore. Bong Pyong hoped that he would visit him occasionally. From Ming that day on, Gildo began applying for jobs everywhere, but no one would accept him. Each battery was like a tape that stored memories. Because his mother had always come to Gildo's house, the battery in the lock had memories of her. Gildo brought a battery to his father. The life of an electrician was very difficult, but Gildo never regretted being his son. One day, while Gildo was drunk, he came across a bus that had run out of battery. Gildo transformed into a thunder superhero and began to transfer electricity to the bus. Much to the driver's surprise, thanks to Gildo, the bus was able to continue operating. The driver was so grateful for his enthusiastic help that he introduced Gildo to the transportation company. From then on, Gildo stuck with his job as a bus driver. One day, he received bad news from a colleague. Gildo's father's battery contained his memories before he died, which helped Gildo know the face of the person who killed his father. Today, during mealtime, Bo Gum came to cause trouble for Kang Hoon. Bo Gum poured leftover food into Kang Hoon's food. Bo Gum also challenged Kang Hoon to hit him. Kang Hoon also whispered that he would tell everyone Kang Hoon's secret. Bong Seok, with his super senses, heard these words, but Bong Seok didn't understand them. Kang Hoon was silent, trying to restrain himself from punching this bastard's head off. At this time, Jesu went to the gym and saw Kang Hoon here. She knew that Kang Hoon had held back, not that he didn't dare to fight back. Jesu had been in that situation before, so she understood that violence was the easiest but also the stupidest way. She thanked Kang Hoon for turning on the ventilation fan for her. Kang Hoon also shyly thanked her for the glasses, but she said he didn't need to thank her because Bong Seok was the one who cleaned the glasses for him. Kang Hoon said that his family also had a store and ran away, leaving Jesu wondering what was going on. On this side, the National Security Department had investigated Frank's identity. He was Korean. The nickname Frank means the sixth child. His mother was Korean and his father was an American who served in the military. A CIA agent brought Frank to America and erased his memory. This time, Frank returned to Korea to carry out a mission. Hearing this, Deputy Chief of Staff Sang-gu immediately called the American advisor. He frankly exposed this person's identity as a CIA agent, even though the country was no longer interested in the old generation of mutants. It turned out that Sang-gu still wanted the American advisor to deal with Frank before he caused harm to the alliance between the two countries. The American advisor had to compromise with Sang-gu. First, he would temporarily stop Frank from acting because, after he reported to his superiors, the mission would be completely cancelled, and to ensure that Sang-gu had contacted the Chinese Ministry of State Security. On this side, Bong Seok wanted to cheer for Jesu, so he created a playlist for her to listen to during practice. When the self-study session ended, he returned to the gym and discovered that his phone had run out of battery. Bong Seok quickly said goodbye to Jesu and quickly went home because his mother would be very worried if he couldn't contact him. At the same time, Frank received an order to kill another agent, the owner of the fried meat shop. At the same time, Jesu's father was worried about his daughter's safety, so he bought her a new phone so she could call him at any time. At this time, Frank had arrived at the fried meat shop. Bong Seok's mother knew who he was, but still acted normal. While preparing the food, she took the opportunity to text Bong Seok, telling him not to come home because his phone ran out of battery. Bong Seok didn't know anything. He even walked faster because he was afraid his mother would worry. Before he could say hello to his mother, she immediately said hello to the customers. Bong Seok didn't understand anything, but still cooperated with his mother. Frank started talking to him and complimented that the meat was delicious. Bong Seok was simple-minded, so he only talked for a few sentences before revealing his true identity. Bong Seok's mother carefully hid the gun in her belt. She was ready to fight at any time. At the same time, Sang-gu was putting pressure on the American advisor. Sang-gu forced him to postpone Frank's mission. Frank just didn't want to do anything to these two people. The American advisor asked if the Korean side was nurturing the next generation of mutants, but Sang-gu didn't answer and asked if the American side was also like that. They were even eager to sell those mutants. Bong Seok's mother was very worried when she saw her son walk through that door. She had told him many times to be careful, but Bong Seok let his phone run out of battery. Bong Seok really wanted to know who that man was and what was going on, but he only received an answer that was not to the point from his mother. Frank was actually a very pitiful child. He was forced to leave his mother when he was very young. Frank loved his mother very much, but she never protected him like other mothers. Frank had to fight for his life. In the end, he had to become a murder tool. Frank thought the mission was completed, but the American advisor continued to give orders. Frank's next target was Jesu's father. Frank wondered when this would really end. Because he was lost in thought, Frank almost crashed into another car. Coincidentally, the driver of that car was Gildo. He quickly realized who the other driver was. Gildo immediately chased all the passengers off. Then Gildo turned the car around and madly chased Frank's car. The bus was speeding down the road. While Frank was still suspicious, the bus crashed into the back of his car. The bad mood stimulated Frank's madness. He rushed straight to the next lane. Someone didn't have time to react and was sent flying by him, causing Gildo's bus to stop. Gildo saw Frank's car driving into a deserted road. Gildo didn't give up and drove into that road regardless. Frank had always been waiting for his mother to come and take him away one day, but until his memory was erased, his mother still hadn't appeared. At this time, Gil didn't know where Frank's car had gone when he was suddenly attacked from the side of the car. He smashed the windshield and rushed out to fight Frank. Although Gildo's abilities were very good, Gildo's combat stats were very low. Gildo was absolutely no match for Frank. Through the battery, Frank knew that Gildo was Bong Pion's son. Frank was soft-hearted and didn't kill Gildo. Then Frank went to Jesu's father's fried chicken shop. According to the delivery address, Frank immediately went to look for him. Frank drove madly after him. When Frank saw Jesu's father, Frank stepped on the gas and hit him. After Frank ran over Jesu's father many times, he completely collapsed on the ground. Frank quickly left without checking, but Jesu's father hid under the car and followed him to the vacant lot. From the moment he met Frank at the commercial building, he had suspected that Frank was indeed the one who killed Naju. So the battle between Frank and Jesu's father began. Both of them possessed superior strength with incredible recovery speed, but in terms of fighting experience, Frank still could not defeat Jesu's father. As a result, Frank was knocked down with a piece of debris in a vital spot. Jesu's father had many questions, but he did not answer. Frank only asked if he had a child. Was his child studying at Zhongwan School? Before Frank was punched repeatedly by Jesu's father, he revealed his real name was Loa. After Jesu's father sent a warning message to the American advisor, he set fire to Frank along with the files on the other agents. When he returned home, it was already dawn. Jesu was still fast asleep, so he didn't know that his father hadn't come home last night. He would definitely do everything to protect his daughter well. As for Bong Seok's mother, since the day he met the assassin, Bong Seok's mother didn't let him go to evening self-study class anymore. When he finished studying, he had to go home immediately, and Bong Seok couldn't let his phone run out of battery. That's why when his friends had to hand in their phones, Bong Seok didn't follow. Jesu opposed Kang Hoon to defend Bong Seok, which made Kang Hoon very sad. And this scene was seen by Bo Gum, who kept challenging Kang Hoon to use his ability so that everyone would know his true self. Before, Jesu always had Bong Seok by his side, but because he had to go home early recently, Jesu was alone. Gradually, the two of them were no longer as close as before. The day of the college entrance exam was approaching. Bong Seok obediently returned home on time. Jesu was still diligently practicing for the college entrance exam for physical education. Kang Hoon was still diligently studying until late at night before returning home. These days, Bong Seok and Jesu did not say a word to each other, and neither of them initiated the conversation. Until the day before the exam, Bong Seok suddenly received a text message from Jesu, which made him extremely happy. He was even more surprised when she came all the way there just to cheer him on. Bong Seok could not let Jesu just leave, so he flew to her. The two of them talked to each other. They both misunderstood each other, which caused their friendship to become distant. Jesu was very thoughtful. She put a rock on Bong Seok. She admitted that she came here because she wanted to see him. Just when Bong Seok said he was the same, it snowed. This was the first snow of the season. The day of the exam finally arrived. Before the students went to school to finish their last days of school, someone played a trick on the basketball hoop in the gym. Today, Jesu's class had a gym class. While Jesu practiced dancing with Hee-won, Bong Seok was dragged to play badminton with Kang Hoon. Suddenly, Hee-won saw a small piece of iron falling from the basketball hoop. She shouted to stop Jesu, but it was too late. The basketball hoop kept falling in the direction Jesu was standing. Bong Seok intended to fly over, but was a step too late. Kang Hoon revealed his super speed ability to save her in time. After Jesu calmed down, she anxiously searched for Bong Seok for fear that he would reveal his flying ability. The amazing scene was accidentally filmed by a classmate. The video was immediately posted and attracted a lot of attention. The secretary reassured him that the video had been deleted, but Sang-gu was still extremely angry. Hasu's father and Bong Seok's mother also saw the video. Bong Seok was very angry with himself. If he had been able to control his ability to fly, he would have been the one to save Hasu. Because he wanted to control his ability, Bong Seok hid from his mother to practice flying. After Bong Seok fell many times, he was able to control his ability to fly a little bit. Although although he bumped into signs quite a lot. Bong-seok's mother saw it and asked why he didn't wear weights anymore. Bong-seok couldn't stand it anymore and argued with her. He said that he didn't like wearing weights anymore. Since he was little, his mother always wanted her son to do as she wanted. So when he grew up, he became a passive and unconfident person. Bong-seok was always worried that others would think badly of him, to the point that Bong-seok hated himself. He wanted to prove that he could do anything. He could save Jesu, he could fly farther and higher than now. But no mother would force her child. She just didn't want Bong-seok to leave like his father. Bong-seok's mother never mentioned his father even once. Bong-seok never told his mother about that dream. A good memory of his father still appeared in his dreams every night. Meanwhile, Kang-hoon's incident had crossed the border and was transmitted to North Korea. They immediately sent people to investigate. Back in 1987, in the Indian Ocean, a boy on a plane saw someone flying in the sky. That person quietly approached the cockpit of that plane. He tried to tell the captain that the plane had a bomb. They needed to make an emergency landing, but at that time, the captain and co-pilot misunderstood him as a terrorist. They even turned the wheel when they saw him holding a gun. At this time, the bomb only had the last seconds left. In the end, the boy and the passengers on the plane all met a tragic end. In 1994, at the National Security Planning Department, Bong-seok's mother, Mi-hyun, was 24 years old. She was the youngest person in the history of the National Security Agency. She had excellent marksmanship and reflexes with superior five senses. An injury during a mission caused Mi-hyun to lose her eyesight. Mi-hyun is currently working in the Information Management Department. There is an elite agent named Do-sik, also known as Moon-san, will be assigned a special top-secret mission. Before letting Do-sik take it on, Sang-gu wanted Mi-hyun to approach Do-sik in the closest way possible so that she could analyze and judge Do-sik's mental state. Sang-gu wanted to make sure Do-sik was capable of carrying out the mission. Sang-gu chose her because of her beautiful face, and he also gave Mi-hyun the opportunity to become an agent again. The first time Mi-hyun met Do-sik in the elevator, she knew that this man was not easy to deal with. Sang-gu was very supportive. He increased the workload to increase the frequency of Do-sik's visits to the headquarters. Every time Do-sik met Mi-hyun in a situation that was not unexpected, by the 11th time, she had successfully caught his attention. Previously, Do-sik only needed to come to the headquarters once to report, but now he had to come here to report every week. This made Jesu's father, Ji-sung, feel very confused. After that, Sang-gu separated Ji-sung and Do-sik to give Mi-hyun a chance to act. Thanks to her super-sensitive senses, she seized the opportunity very well. Mi-hyun very naturally introduced herself. While the two looked at each other awkwardly, Ji-sung had to sit and deal with some bills that fell from the sky. Back to the time before Mi-hyun worked in the headquarters. At a restaurant in Longjing, China, a party was held with guests who were separated from their families in Korea. At that time, Mi-hyun was only a trainee agent, but her ability was much better than the others. This gave her the opportunity to participate in this mission. In order to find the spies and informants for North Korea, among these people, the mission commander divided the drinks that day into two categories. Whoever drank the drugged water was the spies. Then, those who drank it fell down one by one. The deputy commander kept asking how the commander could know who the spy was. At this time, the commander pointed a gun at him. It turned out that the previous mission was just a trap created by the commander. He knew very well that there were spies inside. So, those who did not drink must have been warned by the spies, and that person was none other than the deputy commander. After the traitor was found, the rest was much simpler, which was to eliminate those who were pretending to be dead. However, the commander opened fire because those people were suspicious. This made Mi-hyun unconvinced. She hesitated when she saw them trembling. Then when the commander wanted her to throw a tear gas grenade, Mi-hyun disobeyed the order and took the stun grenade. While the other agents were still stunned, she signaled the survivors to run away quickly. Back to the headquarters where Mi-hyun worked. Today, Mi-hyun had to work overtime until late at night. Do-sik saw that her car was still parked at the headquarters, so he fixed his hair a bit. When he entered, he didn't forget to look for Mi-hyun's figure, and Mi-hyun appeared just as Do-sik expected. He suddenly kindly helped her hold the documents, and he even left Ji-sung to follow and talk to her. The next day, they met again in the elevator. Do-sik took the initiative to hold the documents for her. Ji-sung asked, "Are these things heavy?" Mi-hyun answered without hesitation that they are very heavy. Ji-sung used her age and rank to make things difficult for her, but unexpectedly, he was even lower than her, while he was 8 years older than her. On top of that, today Ji-sung was forced by Sang-gu to continue checking the bills. Mi-hyun thought that today their relationship would make progress, but Do-sik saw through Sang-gu's plot. He also knew that Mi-hyun was just doing her assigned task. However, her calm attitude surprised him quite a bit. Do-sik asked what had made her the most tired in the past few days. Mi-hyun said that she didn't like drinking coffee. She had to skip dinner while she herself was a very punctual eater. Coincidentally, Do-sik was the same. He really liked Namsan fried meat, so after work he took her there to enjoy it. This wasn't the first time Mi-hyun had failed a mission, so she wasn't too concerned, because an elite agent like Do-sik had also failed before. The two of them walked under the cherry blossom rain, looking extremely romantic. Mi-hyun thought the mission had failed, but the truth might not be. So, Do-sik went from not liking coffee to loving it. Mi-hyun teased him that when she deliberately approached him, was it because she was pretty that he let his guard down? Unexpectedly, Do-sik admitted that she was pretty and that he liked her. The atmosphere suddenly became extremely awkward. In Mi-hyun's elimination of the North Korean spy, Do-sik actually participated. Do-sik was tasked with eliminating the targets from the outside, but he failed just because he saw Mi-hyun crying. Today, Sang-gu called Mi-hyun to ask about the progress of the mission. She remembered what Do-sik said the day before. He told her to continue the mission because only then could he continue to see her. Then Mi-hyun reported that the mission was still progressing well. Sang-gu reminded her of the mistake of the previous mission. He promised to promote Mi-hyun if she did well this time. When Mi-hyun had not yet met Do-sik, she thought this man was very cold and unapproachable. She did not expect him to be very clumsy, and he often made meaningless jokes. The two often had dinner at Namsan fried pork. Small stories gradually brought the two closer together. Do-sik said that he was a quiet and bland person, and he became silly and shy just because the other person was Mi-hyun. Although he said he was serious at that time, she did not believe it much. Sang-gu asked Mi-hyun about Do-sik's secret. Of course, she did not know that at this time, he determined that Do-sik still did not like her, so he wanted Mi-hyun to try harder. When she returned, she was made difficult by Section Chief Chio. Just because she was doing a secret mission assigned by Sang-gu, Chio knew that she still had a mission assigned to her, but Chio still made Mi-hyun run the deadline. That made Mi-hyun often stay overtime. At night, she was alone in the office. Something outside the window made Mi-hyun a little scared of ghosts. She turned back for the third time and saw Do-sik floating outside the window. Mi-hyun had always had a serious expression, only occasionally smiling happily. This was the first time Mi-hyun had seen Do-sik fly, so she was very surprised. She blinked her eyes continuously, making him a little amused. He brought Namsan fried pork for her to eat for dinner, just because the day before, Mi-hyun complained that the meat shop did not deliver. The meat was especially delicious today. She suddenly remembered what Do-sik had said. He would show her the whiteness of snow when viewed from the sky. Mi-hyun realized that Do-sik was not joking. She used her super senses to see Do-sik sitting on Namsan Tower eating kimbap. Sometimes he even smiled. A sweet feeling crept into Mi-hyun's heart. During training, Ji-sung wondered why Do-sik always aimed at this position instead of shooting directly at the heart. He explained that shooting there would put pressure on the lungs and bronchial tubes, so there would be no sound. At that time, the victim would have internal bleeding. However, if the victim received emergency treatment, he would still live, which was the best thing Do-sik could do. Ji-sung also wanted to try changing the shooting position like Do-sik, but he should practice shooting properly first. Do-sik left him in the practice room, while Do-sik went to the office to chat with Mi-hyun. Do-sik looked at her coldly, so he was a little sad. Do-sik thought that she did not welcome him. Do-sik said nothing and quietly waited for her to finish her work. At first, Mi-hyun was a little afraid of a black agent like Do-sik, but after the two came into contact, she felt the complete opposite. Do-sik also confided in her that he worked in an environment where he didn't communicate with others, so he didn't know how to talk. Sometimes Do-sik would joke about meaningless things, but that was his heart. Mi-hyun knew those words were sincere. She saw his blank face. Mi-hyun reminded herself that she was telling him her secret. She proved her ability by describing Do-sik's heartbeat at that moment, which was beating very fast. After that, Do-sik took the initiative to express his feelings for Mi-hyun. The sublimation of emotions made him lose control and fly away. Because of political turmoil, Sang-gu immediately called Mi-hyun that night. When he asked her what Do-sik's secret was, Mi-hyun didn't answer. Suddenly, he said that her mission was completed. Mi-hyun wondered and returned to the office. Department head Chio did not hide his contempt for Mi-hyun. She didn't understand why Sang-gu gave Mi-hyun the job. It turned out that the Sea campaign failed unreasonably, making Sang-gu suspicious. An outstanding person like Mi-hyun could not have mistaken a stun grenade for a tear gas grenade. There was only one possibility that she had made a mistake on purpose. Mi-hyun's actions were nonsense in his eyes, but there was someone just like her, Do-sik. So Sang-gu made the two of them fall in love with each other, and everything went as he wanted. At this moment, the secretary brought in coffee. The secretary heard what Sang-gu had just said, so she told Mi-hyun that Sang-gu knew she was lying. Mi-hyun was suspicious, so she went to observe the room of the head of the department, Chio, and there was a sound exactly like the sound she had heard in the coffee machine. Sure enough, there was a surveillance camera here. Mi-hyun went to question Sang-gu directly. It turned out that Do-sik was alone. Do-sik had no family and nothing to care about, so he did not dare to entrust Do-sik with a big job. So he created a reason for Do-sik to return. Although Mi-hyun was not satisfied, she could not argue with her superior. In return, he promised to take good care of her sick father. From that day on, Mi-hyun did not see Do-sik again. It seemed that Do-sik had accepted that important mission. One day, the intelligence agency received shocking news, and the news was confirmed. The North Korean leader had died before the summit between South Korea and North Korea. The cause of death was a heart attack. While the order was that the North Korean leader had to die by assassination, Do-sik had not returned, so Sang-gu called the heads of other departments to a meeting. The last clue they had was when Do-sik crossed the border into North Korea. Sang-gu mobilized all his forces to hunt him down, and he also sent people to follow Mi-hyun. Mi-hyun doesn't know when she started to have the habit of looking up at the sky. While everyone was waiting for the rain to dispel the heat, she was looking forward to a familiar figure. But then the feeling of being away from the person she loves made Do-sik extremely uncomfortable. Knowing that this place was very dangerous, he still returned to find her regardless. Mi-hyun was very happy to see Do-sik, but this was also the time when he was in danger. Let's learn about Hae-su's father's past. Before he became an agent of the Ministry of National Security, Hae-su's father used to be a fish market gangster. He was known as a monster. He possessed extraordinary strength and the ability to heal himself. Thanks to Ji-sung, Wang Jin's unknown gang gradually took over several neighboring areas. For example, today, thanks to Ji-sung's intervention, President Chaeyeon's nightclub was in the hands of Big Brother Wang Jin. One day, the boss called Ji-sung, and it turned out that the boss had accepted the merger proposal of President Chaeyeon, but Ji-sung did not agree because he only fought for his teammates, not for money. Because the two had different opinions, Ji-sung had less contact with them. Sometimes he only stopped by to visit his younger brother Min-ki, but Min-ki was no longer the boy he used to be. Min-ki was busy managing the nightclub, so he did not have time to receive Ji-sung. Ji-sung went to the nightclub to find the boss and Min-ki, but they had changed. How? Many people were injured because of Min-ki. Since the boss started expanding his territory, Ji-sung had taken so many stabs on his behalf, but he said something extremely cold. The boss said that Ji-sung did not know any pain because he was a monster. Too disappointed, Ji-sung had nothing more to say. Because Ji-sung had beaten President Chaeyeon's subordinates, Ji-sung still refused to submit, so Chaeyeon bribed Min-ki to drug Wang Jin and Ji-sung. Ji-sung woke up in a daze to find himself and his boss tied up in the car. President Chaeyeon's subordinates were pushing the car into the sea. Ji-sung was fine with anything, but he didn't want to implicate his boss. At this time, President Chaeyeon told Ji-sung that Ji-sung's friends were injured by Boss Wang Jin. Boss Wang Jin did it to make him explode with power. The merger was also Wang Jin's request for Chaeyeon. From beginning to end, Ji-sung was just a shield for Boss Wang Jin. One more thing, it was Min-ki who proposed this drugging plan. Because Min-ki was the one who understood Ji-sung the best, Ji-sung was betrayed by the two people he trusted the most. He could only scream to express his anger. After the car sank, Ji-sung broke his own hand to remove the handcuffs. Although Ji-sung hesitated a bit, he still decided not to save his boss, Wang Jin. After that, Ji-sung stopped being a gangster and made money by blackmailing. Every time Ji-sung needed to pay rent, he rushed to the car to receive compensation. The first time Ji-sung met the person he liked was at the boarding house where he lived. At that time, Ji-sung was only quite impressed with her cold face. Except for going out to blackmail, Ji-sung rarely left the house. Ji-sung happened to see the girl from last time arguing with a man. It turned out that she sold coffee. When she went to deliver the coffee, she met a customer who wanted to play a trick on her. She handled the situation cleverly, making the customer angry. When the rent was due, Ji-sung lay down on the street again. While Ji-sung was listening to the landlady complaining, the girl came again. He only managed to catch a glimpse of her surname, Wang. Another time, the two accidentally bumped into each other. Because Ji-sung had a beard and looked old, she called him uncle. The two only talked a few sentences, but Jin-hee had a pretty good impression of Ji-sung. Because Ji-sung respected her very much, he was not like other men who were rude and contemptuous just because she sold coffee. Jin-hee guessed Ji-sung was around 40 years old, but in fact he was only her age. Ji-sung did not always successfully act out. For example, today, Ji-sung encountered an uncooperative driver. He chased after him and coincidentally met Jin-hee. She heard Ji-sung shouting that someone had hit a car and run away. She enthusiastically wanted to help him chase after that person, but even if the two of them caught up, Ji-sung would not be able to act out anymore. So Ji-sung had to ask Jin-hee for directions to the motel because he was blind. She pointed him towards the church, but for some reason, Ji-sun kept getting further and further away from the motel. When Ji-sun got closer to the church, what was in front of him was a dead end. Ji-sun looked at the cross standing out in the dark night, reminding him of the past. That night, he brought anger to take revenge on Chairman Chae, On and Min-ki, but in the end, he still couldn't bear to kill Min-ki. When Ji-sun was still struggling to find his way home, he met Jin-hee. She didn't expect him to really get lost. What was more surprising was that Ji-sun suddenly burst into tears like a child. Sang-gu heard the news about the monster, so he came. Here, he offered that if Min-ki caught Ji-sun, this area would no longer be forbidden. That day, Jin-hee drove the crying Ji-sun back to the motel. Every time he remembered that, Ji-sun smiled unconsciously. Suddenly, Ji-sun thought of something. He hurriedly cleaned the house. He cleaned his room, then he mustered up the courage to call Jin-hee's coffee shop. While Ji-sun waited for her to come, he didn't forget to take a shower and shave neatly. Sure enough, Ji-sun's appearance turned 15 years younger right after that. The first person to arrive was not Jin-hee. The freshly brewed coffee was still steaming hot, but Ji-sun drank it all and then let the person leave. The second and third people were the same. The owner was still sighing that this guy must be in his prime when Jin-hee arrived. Every day, Jin-hee could still hear the sound of the TV from Ji-sun's room. It turned out that he didn't like quiet because he had claustrophobia. Ji-sun turned on the lights and windows every night. Jin-hee said that she liked people who looked like monsters but were good people. Ji-sun thought that he was the same type of person, so he couldn't help but feel happy inside. After the two of them finished drinking coffee, Jin-hee was about to leave when Ji-sun offered to buy her a night. Jin-hee thought he wanted to be intimate, but Ji-sun said he just wanted to chat. She thought he was crazy, so she didn't agree, just took the money for the coffee and left. At first, she hated the silly type like Ji-sun. He pretended to be romantic and always talked about morality, but his ultimate goal was still to have sex. The boss knew the content of the conversation between the two and understood one thing. According to her, Ji-sun was silly because of Jin-hee, not because of her job. The coffee delivery people before her all left Ji-sun's room very quickly, so Ji-sun was really romantic. From that day on, whenever Ji-sun's room number called, the boss would let Jin-hee deliver it. Ji-sun was afraid that she would be cold, so he thoughtfully closed the window. The two drank coffee and chatted. Sometimes they read novels together. Today, Ji-sun went out to borrow more novels to read when he accidentally heard Jin-hee screaming. The person who bullied Jin-hee was the man who tried to play a trick on her the other day, but failed. Today, he asked his friends to lure Jin-hee to come for revenge. Jin-hee resisted fiercely. Suddenly, the wall next to him shook as if someone was drilling the wall. The mirror on the wall fell down, revealing a large hole, a hole big enough for Jin-hee to see Ji-sun's angry face. Ji-sun saw that the person on the other side was Jin-hee, so Ji-sun got even madder. Ji-sun used his body to break a large piece of the wall. Ji-sun asked again what Jin-hee had said earlier. A bad guy stammered and said he would kill all of you. As a result, the four bad guys were quickly defeated by Ji-sun, and they were locked in the room and not allowed to come out. The previous owner had always had a bad attitude towards Ji-sun, but now, every time she saw him, she couldn't help but tremble. Ji-sun worriedly called the coffee shop to ask about Jin-hee. The person who answered the phone quickly recognized Ji-sun. She said Jin-hee had gone to the hospital. Only then did Ji-sun know that her full name was Hwang Jin-hee. At the same time, a bad guy escaped through the window and went to tell the boss. Ji-sun in the room heard a strange sound and immediately guessed what was about to happen. The boss wanted to show off to Ji-sun, but was punched by Ji-sun, breaking two teeth at the same time. During the fight, Ji-sun's hand hit the fireplace and caught fire fiercely, but he was not in pain and still defeated each thug. Ji-sun was stabbed all over his body, but he still got up and dealt with them all. But everything had just begun when the leader of President Cheon's subordinates, Bata, arrived. Min-ki also brought 100 thugs waiting, but soon after, they were thrown out of the window like trash. In a nearby bush, Min-ki was scared when he saw Ji-sun staring at him covered in blood. Bata's baseball bat almost pierced his head. Sang-gu was always watching the rumored monster. He wanted Min-ki to make Ji-sun go crazy. If someone died, he would take care of it. Jin-hee returned to the cafe from the hospital. She knew Ji-sun had called to ask about her, so she shyly called him to report that she was safe, but she couldn't get through. Jin-hee heard from her colleague that the police were surrounding Sago Ward, which was where Ji-sun lived. Jin-hee had a bad feeling, so she drove there. Ji-sun was super strong, super resilient, not super fast. He was quickly caught up to by them. One person after another tortured him because they knew that no matter how hard they stabbed him, Ji-sun wouldn't die, so they were very decisive. Sang-gu let Do-sik evaluate Ji-sun's abilities. He only needed a monster. If Ji-sun died, he would no longer be a monster because because he had no use for him. Meanwhile, Jin-hee passed the police barricade. She wandered the alleys looking for Ji-sung. Jin-hee finally found Ji-sung, but Ji-sung didn't want to get involved with her. Jin-hee thought that Ji-sung was in trouble because she saved her, so she stood there and refused to leave. Ji-sung was afraid that the thugs would catch her, so he could only get in the car and let Jin-hee drive away. The two of them ran for a long time before finally escaping their pursuit. Ji-sung explained that he was paying for what happened in the past because he had killed someone. His hand that was holding Jin-hee gradually loosened, but Jin-hee believed that there must be a reason for him to do that. That sentence made Ji-sung's hands hug Jin-hee tighter. But then a car on the opposite side crashed directly into the two of them. Although Ji-sung protected Jin-hee from the collision, she was still unconscious. Ji-sung frantically rushed towards the car. As a result, Ji-sung was crushed by the car and couldn't move. Min-ki laughed gleefully at Ji-sung. He even prepared a whale gun. Before Mi-ki fired, Do-sik from above killed Mi-ki first. The next day, Jin-hee woke up in the hospital. She just sat there absent-mindedly, making the old lady next to her very curious. Jin-hee began to tell those old ladies about her hero. 6 months after that day, Ji-sung officially became an agent of the Ministry of National Security. Ji-sung's nickname was Woo Gang-bo. He was a teammate of Agent Moon-san, whose real name was Do-sik. One day, the Youth Cafe welcomed a special guest. Jin-hee couldn't help but tease Ji-sung. She asked him if he was blind and still found his way here. Jin-sung said he was still blind as before, but he knew the way to her. However, now he had a new identity and responsibility, that of an agent of the Ministry of National Security. The special agent couple Ji-sung and Do-sik now understand each other very well. This time they have to go to Russia to rescue a Korean doctor. Ji-sung bravely fights in the enemy formation, while Do-sik presses the enemy from the outside in. They quickly complete the mission. They just need to bring the doctor back to Korea and it's done. But if Do-sik carries the two of them and flies back, it will be too heavy. So Do-sik carries the doctor back to the country and leaves Ji-sung to find his own way back. They go through a lot together until Do-sik meets Mi-hyun. Not long after Do-sik escaped, Sang-gu used Mi-hyun's father to threaten her. He wants her to help him capture Do-sik alive. That night, even though Do-sik knows this is a trap, he still comes. He and Mi-hyun are separated. When he tries to resist, he discovers that the gun is gone. Mi-hyun is pointing the gun at him. Do-sik was escorted back to headquarters by a large number of agents, leaving only Mi-hyun alone in the empty room. She didn't have much time to think because she still had things to do. Do-sik knew that Sang-gu didn't need the approval of the Blue House and gave him that mission, but he didn't bother to threaten Sang-gu. Do-sik declared that he would survive in his own way. He would survive everyone's pursuit. As soon as he finished speaking, Do-sik launched an attack. The unexpected situation made the people present unable to react in time. Sang-gu was taken hostage by him. If Do-sik just disappeared, Mi-hyun would be implicated. So he risked his life and returned just to deny his relationship with Mi-hyun in front of everyone. Do-sik shot straight at the person he loved, but luckily Ji-sung took the bullet for her in time. When Do-sik and Mi-hyun hugged, he signaled her to take out a gun and threatened him. Do-sik then gave Ji-sung the pocket knife so he could help her. Or before Do-sik took the mission to North Korea, he secretly signaled Ji-sung first. After everything happened, Mi-hyun came to give Ji-sung the pocket knife. Because Ji-sung took a long time to take out the bullet, his hand still has a scar until now. Early the next morning, Sang-gu was found on a tree near the Blue House. Because Sang-gu couldn't explain to the Blue House, Sang-gu was demoted. When Mi-hyun's father passed away, she also escaped the control of the organization. Do-sik still hasn't come back to find her. After that, Mi-hyun found a new job. She lived the life she always wanted, but Do-sik still hasn't returned. Because of Do-sik, Mi-hyun started to have the habit of working by the window. She also often drinks coffee from a vending machine, and she often looks at the sky to relax as well as to find what she's always been waiting for. And then on a cold, snowy night, Do-sik appeared and fulfilled his promise to Mi-hyun. After that, they had a child together. Both of them were elite agents, but they were tired and helpless because of a child. Before Bong-sok could speak, he revealed the ability he inherited from his father. From then on, their ceiling also had nets. And then the day the two sides ceased fighting came. Sang-gu also returned after many days of hiding because of the previous incident. Sang-gu called everyone into the meeting room except Agent Ji-sung. They will start over again. Bong-sok is growing up. Do-sik wants to move to a bigger house so that the boy does not feel uncomfortable. But Mi-hyun immediately refuses because this place is far from the houses of the people, so there is no fear of others knowing their secret. Even though this time is extremely peaceful, they cannot let their guard down. Do-sik decided to wait a little longer, and then the whole family would go to the suburbs of Seoul and open a shop. Mi-hyun would cook, and he would clean, wash dishes, and deliver deliver goods. They would open a fried meat shop, which was Mi-hyun's favorite dish. One day, Mi-hyun returned home and her son was gone. Do-sik reassured his wife and flew up into the sky. He was lucky to find his son floating in the clouds. That was also the scene that always appeared in Bong-sok's dreams. Although the boy was fine, a feeling of unease still haunted Mi-hyun. One day, a customer came to buy apples. That person was department head Kim. Then finally, the incident came. That night, Mi-hyun heard unusual footsteps. There were about 30 people coming to her house, including 3 mutants. Do-sik would go out to distract them so that his wife and son could run away from the back door. Do-sik told her not to reveal that Bong-sok had the same ability as his father. He would definitely not let his son live the same life as him. When Do-sik gave the signal, Mi-hyun should just go forward and not turn back. When he was done, Do-sik would come find her and her son. While Do-sik was outside pulling the other people away, another group of people broke into the house to search for Mi-hyun and Bong-sok. Do-sik was unfortunately shot by Naju. When Do-sik was about to fly away, he was pulled back by Jin-chan. The electrician Bong Pyong used electricity to control him. Do-sik was tied up but still flew up to observe the situation for Mi-hyun. The search team for Bong-sok and his son was called back to help capture Do-sik. Mi-hyun received his signal and immediately drove away. Do-sik also stopped resisting. From then on, Mi-hyun and her son wandered everywhere, but she did not know that the organization was always following them closely. After Do-sik left, the monster Ji-sung was also forgotten. Not long after, Ji-sung married the person he loved, and the two lived a simple but happy life. Retired agents like him now only have to work as civil servants to have money to live. Although Ji-sung used to be a fearless agent, he still has to succumb to numbers. His special abilities have no place to be used, which makes him seem to lose his reason for existence. But he is the reason for Jin-hee to exist. Jin-hee feels heartbroken when she sees her husband sad and lifeless. Jin-hee wants Ji-sung to do what he wants, and she will always support him. The next day, Ji-sung was just preparing his resignation letter when he saw a letter reminding him to renew his rent. The current house was thanks to this job. If he quits now, they will take it back. That way, he and his wife will know where to live. Ji-sung sadly went drinking to relieve his sadness, but his body did not know what drunkenness was, which only doubled his sadness. The next day, Ji-sung asked his wife to buy him a new bag. He began to adapt to life. Sang-gu returned and suggested that Ji-sung return to being himself. He advised Ji-sung to do things that only he could do, which was to prove himself to the world. Sang-gu's words really made Ji-sung think, because that was what he had always wanted. But once Ji-sung returned to being a secret agent, he would no longer be with his wife like before. Jin-hee realized that her husband was hiding something, but she always supported him no matter what he chose. And finally, Ji-sung decided to return to being a secret agent. Elsewhere, a submarine carrying armed North Korean spies was discovered to have sunk. Some of the spies died, and the remaining spies are currently on the run. So South Korea sent people to search the surrounding areas. Ji-sung was also in the search team. The soldiers were very curious about who he was. However, the superiors had given orders not to ask for any information from him, so they could only guess. The company commander brought food and equipment to Ji-sung. The military uniform would help Ji-sung not stand out too much, causing disadvantages for the team during combat. The next day, the war between South Korea and North Korea took place. There were soldiers below and helicopters above, but the North Korean soldiers still avoided it. They also attacked back, causing the South Korean soldiers to suffer significant losses. Sang-gu sent Section Chief Kim to support Ji-sung. Although Section Chief Kim did not have any special abilities, he was still highly regarded by Sang-gu. Because Section Chief Kim was very good at finding people, that ability was extremely suitable for the current task of finding people. After many days of searching, the South Korean army finally had a clue. Chief Kim used the footprints on the ice to show the army the way, but Chief Kim stopped Ji-sung from following them because those footprints did not belong to normal people. Chief Kim guessed that there were mutants in this North Korean spy group. Before that, the South Korean team had received intelligence that North Korea was also training mutants to deal with South Korea. The army had sent 2 million soldiers to search for 40 days, but still failed, which was enough to confirm that the intelligence was completely accurate. Chief Kim told the soldiers to let the two sides fight soon. When the entire South Korean army was about to be destroyed, Chief Kim and Ji-sung appeared as heroes to shine. But Ji-sung did not agree with Chief Kim's despicable idea, because for Ji-sung, human life was not a tool to improve achievements. Indeed, the South Korean army fell into the trap prepared by the spy group. The South Korean army was attacked by surprise. Many people did not have time to react, causing the number of injured to increase rapidly. Fortunately, Ji-sung arrived in time to turn the situation around. Ji-sung ran very fast in the rain of bullets. He took fatal bullets for the soldiers. 2 spies spies were killed. Ji-sung used his body to block the grenade, which surprised the people around. While they were not paying attention, a spy shot Ji-sung in the face. Then he also shot the captain dead. Ji-sung went crazy and rushed forward. At this time, someone was creating a landslide, causing countless soldiers to be crushed by the giant pile of rocks. Ji-sung could only approach that person to prevent more casualties. The North Korean spy possessed super speed and superior physical strength, but his enemy was someone with the ability to heal himself. Therefore, he could never kill Ji-sung. The North Korean spy didn't want to waste time, so he kicked Ji-sung away and ran away. Although the South Korean team didn't catch anyone, Chief Kim was very happy because they had a reason to rebuild the organization. But now, Ji-sung didn't want to listen to Chief Kim anymore. Jin-hee finally waited for her husband to return. The news on TV made her extremely worried about Ji-sung. She looked at him so haggard and heartbroken. Sang-gu wanted to bring the organization back to the center, so he created a new black team with the participation of 4 mutants, including Bong Pyong, Na-ju, Jin-chon, and Ji-sung. Ji-sung will lead this mission that Sang-gu gave, which is to go to North Korea to determine the existence of the mutants that they are training. Jin-hee has always wanted to have a daughter with a face like her husband, so that whenever Ji-sung is away, she won't be lonely anymore. But he keeps going like that, making it impossible for them to have a baby. They agreed to have sex once a month, and those days were her ovulation days. Jin-hee just hoped that her husband could come home early. Ji-sung knew his wife's feelings and immediately agreed. Not long after that, they had an extremely adorable baby girl together. Hae-soo grew up like that, until one day, Ji-sung received bad news as soon as he got off the plane. Jin-hee and Hae-soo had been in a serious accident. Hae-soo was out of danger, but Jin-hee was not so lucky. Leaving the hospital room, Ji-sung couldn't help but cry like a child. He was in crisis and in extreme pain. All his painful emotions turned into tears that kept falling. Although Ji-sung had not yet overcome the pain of losing his wife, he had to try to appear happy to take good care of Hae-soo. He asked to be transferred to a light office job. Sang-gu agreed on the condition that Ji-sung would be there immediately when he needed him. Jae-man is the father of class president Kang-hoon. He possesses extraordinary strength and speed, but he is mentally handicapped. Jae-man has a wife who loves him very much. She opened a shoe stall, and he worked as a porter to help her. The place where they were doing business was about to be demolished, which caused the local merchants to strongly oppose it. Everyone knew that Jae-man was stronger than others, so they wanted him to join the protest. But Jae-man's wife told him over and over again not to follow those people. Jae-man loves his son very much. He rarely talks, but every time he talks, he only mentions Kang-hoon. No matter what Jae-man is doing, as soon as the clock tells him it's time to pick up his son, he rushes off. He has never let his son wait. 3 years ago, someone caused trouble for Jae-man and his wife. He couldn't control himself, so he used a very heavy hand, and because of that, he was arrested. The police car had just left when Jae-man's wife's truck caught fire, causing Kang-hoon to be burned. Although the doctors were able to treat him in time, the burn still left a scar on Kang-hoon's body until now. When Jae-man returned, his son was old enough to go to kindergarten. Kang-hoon grew up without his father, so he was not used to Jae-man's closeness. Meanwhile, Ji-sung was also getting used to taking care of his daughter. Although still young, Hae-soo was very understanding. She always helped her father with housework. Kang-hoon finally accepted his father and showed more affection for him. Today, the merchants took to the streets to protest. Jae-man's wife represented the family to participate, so she left the job of taking care of Kang-hoon to her husband. The workload increased, causing Ji-sung to often come home late. However, Hae-soo was very obedient. She played at home by herself until she fell asleep. Meanwhile, the protest lasted until evening, when the tension between the two sides was at its peak. The government sent in the police, and they brutally suppressed the protesters. Everyone ran away in a hurry. The goods of the merchants were mercilessly destroyed, and so was Jae-man's wife's stall. Jae-man saw that it was late and his wife had not returned yet, which made him worried, so he wanted to go check it out. He promised his son that he would return before he went to bed. Then Jae-man hurriedly ran to find his wife. The merchants were arrested one by one and put on the bus. Jae-man's wife was extremely scared when she saw her husband. Jae-man rushed straight to the bus, trying his best to save his wife. She cried and begged him to think of his son and leave. If he was also arrested, what would Kang-hoon do? Jae-man had just left when Ji-sung received Sang-gu's order to arrest people. Jae-man was hiding in the sewer. The police above were divided into teams and spread out around to narrow his range. Jae-man's wife begged to see her husband because he was retarded and wouldn't listen to anyone, but the people outside wouldn't listen to what Jae-man's wife said. A while later, Ji-sung also arrived. After he got important information about Jae-man, Ji-sung started going down the sewer to find people. Someone reminded him to be careful because Jae-man was a monster, but Ji-sung was also a monster. He followed the strange noises in the sewer. Not long after, he found J-Man. The two started fighting in the water. Ji-sung tried every way to control J-Man, and J-Man just wanted to get out of here quickly to go back to his son, but Ji-sung kept clinging, making J-Man furious. At this time, a merchant discovered that her son was nowhere to be found. She called out, but there was no response. Then she saw a manhole next to her stall that had lost its cover, and her son's sandal was under it. Meanwhile, the fight between the two monsters was still going on. Ji-sung kept fainting for a while, then woke up and continued to fight. While sinking into the water, Ji-sung took the opportunity to handcuff the two people together. The mother panicked and went to the police to ask them to find her son. After a while of fighting, Ji-sung was able to subdue J-Man, causing him to faint. The police in command of the scene called more people. They set up a team to search for the missing child. Rainwater was still pouring down the drain. The child was trying to hold on to the railing to avoid being swept away by the water. Luckily, Ji-sung heard the child's cries. He wanted to break the wall to save the person, but he could only use one hand, so the wall did not break. At this moment, J-Man woke up. The two of them joined forces to punch and break the concrete block above to rescue the boy. On the ground, the police in command of the scene was scolded by Sang-gu because he dared to disobey the orders of the security bureau, but the commander said that saving people was their responsibility and he did not regret his decision. When the search team went down the sewer, they saw Ji-sung holding the boy in his arms. Ji-sung let J-man go because J-man said he had to go back to his son. Sang-gu was very angry because Ji-sung was too trusting, but J-man didn't lie. He cried and apologized to his son for coming back late. The father and son were hugging each other when the special forces rushed in. At this time, Sang-gu already knew that J-man was mentally handicapped, so he handed J-man over to the police to deal with because he didn't need someone who was worthless. Sang-gu and Ji-sung had only taken a few steps when there was a loud noise behind them. Ji-sung was worried that J-man was agitated, but the one who had just thrown the special forces away was Kang-hoon. Could it be that superpowers could be inherited? Sang-gu's words made Ji-sung worried. Ji-sung didn't dare to face his hopeful eyes. Ji-sung couldn't let Sang-gu pay attention to his daughter. Although Ji-sung was not sure if Jesu had the same ability as him, he still took his daughter and left that night, which was the reason why the father and daughter had been wandering around until now. Back in the present, Jesu told her father that she remembered a few things about her mother. On the day of their accident, her mother smiled at her because she knew that her daughter was also special like her father. Sang-gu was not too surprised that Ji-sung took his daughter and ran away. Sang-gu was also not sure if the ability was hereditary or not, but Chief Kim confirmed that it was. When Jesu and her mother had the accident, Chief Kim was also present. Just the fact that Jesu survived that terrible accident was suspicious. Taking this opportunity, Chief Kim proposed his National Talent Development Project to Sang-gu. They will train the next generation of mutants. The first on the list is J-man's son Kang-hoon, followed by the son of the Flying Man, Do-sik, and the fun monster Ji-sung. Chief Kim never stopped paying attention to these mutants. He always quietly observed their growth process, because Chief Kim wanted to determine whether they had inherited their parents' abilities or not. Chief Kim was confident in his searching ability. He also wanted to expand the search area to the whole country to find other mutants, which child didn't have to go to school, so they would train them in the form of a school. Finally, Sang-gu was convinced. Bogum had also encountered a similar incident as Jesu at school, but he was not as lucky as her. He believed that this was not a coincidence. Jesu invited Kang-hoon to eat noodles to thank him for yesterday. Kang-hoon said that he had finished his studies, but he didn't go to university because he was going to work for the government. Jesu was curious and asked why Kang-hoon was still going to school. Thinking back to 3 years ago, when Kang-hoon was about to enter high school, Department Head Kim, who was also the principal of Jongwon School, came to find him. After the shocking incident that year, Kang-hoon's father had finished his 10-year prison term, but he was still on probation. Kang-hoon wanted to help his family and erase his father's criminal record, so he agreed to go to Jongwon School to study. Because of the incident in the lecture hall, the whole school was dismissed. Early today, it was under renovation and could no longer be used, so the homeroom teacher sent Jesu to a sports center to continue training. Bogum had been waiting outside for a while. When he saw Jesu come out, he immediately reminded her to be careful and not to trust anyone. But Jesu didn't understand anything. When she returned to class to get her backpack, she found that Bong-sok was a bit strange. He didn't bring any weights today. Bong-sok said he was practicing controlling his abilities and he couldn't depend on weights forever. As long as he wasn't near Jesu, he would be fine, but Jesu still gave her backpack to Bong-sok to ensure safety. Then the two went to the sports center together. The homeroom teacher's assistant, Jungkook, was checking the classes when he discovered Bo-gum was still wandering around the school. Jungkook saw Bo-gum leave and immediately went into the principal's office. Kang-hoon didn't want to go home, so he stayed at school to study. Hae-soo stopped by the convenience store. She bought a few bottles of water and put them in Bong-seok's backpack for peace of mind. The two innocent children didn't know they were being followed. Mi-hyun and Ji-sung weren't free either. A child with superpowers went to the same school and class as their child. Was this a coincidence, or was there some other conspiracy? They still wanted to go to school to find out. Gildo went back to work tonight. He saw Hae-soo and Bong-seok walking together and teased them a few sentences. As soon as they got in the car, another man got in too. This man couldn't pay for the ticket, so Gildo borrowed his phone to check. This person was very strange, so Gildo didn't take any more money, but he quietly observed that person through the rear view mirror. That person kept staring at Hae-soo and Bong-seok, which made Gildo even more suspicious. When the teachers left one by one, Mi-hyun went to school to meet Bong-seok's homeroom teacher. While walking, she called her son. Because she was afraid of being scolded by her mother, Bong-seok said he was going home. Mi-hyun told her son a few things and hung up. Right after that, Ji-sung also called Hae-soo. Because he didn't let her go to the sports center, Hae-soo lied to reassure her father. Mi-hyun had just entered the school for a while when Ji-sung also went to school to find the homeroom teacher. After the guard called to report to his superiors, the guard immediately locked the gate. Mi-hyun went straight to the point. She asked the homeroom teacher if the male student who saved his friend in the lecture hall had superpowers, right? The homeroom teacher laughed and explained that the students were just exaggerating and that it was nothing and that the school had already arranged everything properly. Mi-hyun didn't need to worry about it affecting the other students. Mi-hyun pretended to say that her son had bad grades. The homeroom teacher immediately said that although Bong-seok wasn't good at studying, he was still capable of passing the university entrance exam. However, Mi-hyun never said that she was Bong-seok's mother, which showed that the homeroom teacher had already known about Bong-seok. Jungkook was on patrol when he met Ji-sung. Jungkook said that no one was there. Ji-sung immediately used the excuse that the parents wanted to visit the school, which made it impossible for Jungkook to refuse. Jungkook hurriedly went to the principal's office. Then he turned on the hidden camera to monitor Ji-sung's movements. Ji-sung went to the lecture hall to check the scene of the incident and observed the surrounding area. On this side, Hae-soo and Bong-seok pressed the bell to get off the station. The other man followed. The two of them were still innocent and unaware. At school, the homeroom teacher quickly thought of an explanation and invited Mi-hyun back. Suddenly, Mi-hyun asked when he started teaching. The homeroom teacher fell into deep thought. Following Mi-hyun's gaze, she looked up at the ceiling. Her super senses showed her that there was a hidden camera on it. Jungkook was so busy eavesdropping on Mi-hyun that he lost track of Ji-sung. Suddenly, Ji-sung appeared in front of the hidden camera, startling Jungkook. At this time, not far from the school, there were several North Korean agents waiting for orders. They came to collect documents about South Korean mutants. When they received the signal, they immediately set off for the back gate of the school. Gildo knew that Hae-soo and Bong-seok would be in danger, so he drove very fast forward. The people in the car were all screaming in panic. Only the man was looking intently at Gildo. Gildo suddenly turned the wheel, causing the passengers to fall to one side. No one noticed that the man's legs were dangling. The bus was still speeding down the road. Gildo even took off his gloves and used all his strength to run even faster. Gildo saw the police station and quickly turned the wheel into it. The passengers got off the bus one by one. Under the suddenly turned off lights of the bus, the man also mysteriously disappeared. On this side, the head teacher said that he had been teaching for 10 years. He recalled that year he went to see Sang-gu to become a black agent. The reason he asked to join the organization was because 8 years ago he was saved by a black agent. The head teacher was determined to support the black agents of the organization. Sang-gu assigned him the task of finding potential mutants, and he had to nurture them to serve the country. He had to evaluate the students objectively. The homeroom teacher must always be alert and not have unnecessary emotions. From that day on, homeroom teacher Jungkook became a black agent. He hid under the guise of Jungwon's physical education teacher. The first student that Jungkook evaluated was Gildo. He was the next generation of Agent Bong Pyong. Gildo's physical strength was not outstanding. Head of Department Kim wanted to quickly get results before Gildo graduated, so he played a trick. He wanted to stimulate Gildo, reveal his abilities in a dangerous situation. That night, a group of students followed Head of Department Kim's instructions to cause trouble for Gildo. But even though Gildo was beaten until he couldn't stand, he still didn't fight back. Even though Gildo Gildo had abilities, he was useless without the ability to fight, so Jungkook had to orient Gildo to another major. The next person was the daughter of Agent Na-ju. Si-yoon's outstanding physical ability was revealed very early. At first, Jungkook was only interested in training mutants, but when he interacted with the students for a long time, their feelings softened his heart. Jungkook asked if Se-yoon's ability was to see through things. Right. She also trusted the homeroom teacher, so she did not deny it. But when Na-ju found out, she immediately arranged for her daughter to leave quietly, while Jungkook was excited because the training process was going very well. Se-yoon suddenly passed away from cancer. Although Jungkook was saddened by her death, the mission still had to continue. Although Jungkook's main job was to observe and guide young mutants, he was also very serious about his role as a homeroom teacher. During his years of searching for mutants, Jungkook also encountered many difficult cases, but sometimes there were also special cases like Jong-tak. Jong-tak possessed the ability to stop time. One day, the principal sent Jungkook to be Jong-kyung's assistant. Even though he didn't like it, Jong-kyung couldn't object. The principal wanted him to pay special attention to Bong-seok and reminded him not to forget that he wasn't a real teacher. Kang-hoon, Bong-seok and Hae-soo came to study at the school one after another. Jungkook was watching Ji-sung's path when he was startled. Ji-sung entered the guidance room and saw Mi-hyun and Jang-kyung. Mi-hyun knew it was time to leave, so she put her phone in the trash and said goodbye to Mr. Jang-kyung. When Mi-hyun passed Ji-sung, she reminded him about the surveillance camera. When she went out, Mi-hyun used her super senses to locate the electrical room and quickly went there. The school janitor knocked on the principal's door. Jungkook angrily opened the door and was stabbed in the neck by the janitor. The police were taking statements from the passengers on the bus. Bong-seok and Hae-soo ran away because they were afraid their parents would find out. She realized that she had dropped Bong-seok's power bank, but it wasn't that important, so the two of them ignored it. Mi-hyun walked while observing the cameras here. She didn't want to reveal her purpose, so she deliberately went in another direction. Ji-sung also spoke frankly to teacher Jang-kyung. Mi-hyun's appearance surprised him quite a bit. Not only that, Kang-hoon's movements were exactly like Jae-man's. The three children of the three mutants who knew each other were all in the same class. This couldn't be a coincidence. At first, he thought teacher Jang-kyung was very suspicious until Ji-sung saw that the homeroom teacher was also being monitored. The janitor in the principal's office was listening to what the two men were saying when Ji-sung stared at the hidden camera on the ceiling. The janitor felt that the opportunity had come, so she took out her phone and reported to the North Korean agent. One was in the hallway, two were in the career guidance room. There were two more students in the school, one in the classroom, the other in the teacher's room. The janitor told the North Korean spy to go in and deal with those people. Mi-hyun heard all of these words. Ji-sung wanted to know who Jang-kyung was. He was the soldier who Ji-sung had taken a bullet for in the search for the North Korean spy. Mi-hyun followed the voice to the principal's office. The janitor pretended to be working, but Mi-hyun had already seen someone's body reflected in the glass. She didn't say much, but gently closed the door to deal with the janitor. Han Bin was the female student who posted the video exposing Kang-hoon's abilities, so her camera was confiscated. Han Bin tried to sneak into the school to get the camera back, but was chased away by the security guard. At this time, at the back gate of the school, 4 North Korean agents signaled someone in the trunk. They broke the lock and entered the school. A brief memory of Mi-hyun and Do-sik mentioned his flight. At that time, she was very curious about how Do-sik could fly. Back then, he had already been able to fly when he was born. Actually, if Do-sik wanted to fly well, he just needed to control his fear of falling and land well. The mysterious man followed Hae-soo and Bong-seok to the sports center, which was large enough for her to practice. When Bong-seok went out to buy some things, Hae-soo stayed behind to run a few laps to warm up. Not long after Bong-seok left, the man arrived. He locked the door and suddenly appeared behind Hae-soo. He asked her how many laps she had run. She honestly said 10 laps. Suddenly, he threw Hae-soo from the stands onto the field. The man wanted to test her ability. When Bong-seok returned, he found the door locked. He heard Hae-soo scream and was extremely worried. Bong-seok immediately ran outside to find a way to fly in. The man saw the wound on Hae-soo's face, healing very quickly. He already knew what her ability was. He flew her up to confirm it again. Outside, Bong-seok remembered what his mother had taught him. He took a deep breath to suppress his fear. The moment Hae-soo was released, Bong-seok flew over to catch her. After circling a few times, Bong-seok finally landed safely. In the principal's office, 2 women were fighting. Mi-hyun had already realized that the other party was a North Korean. Halfway through, Mi-hyun heard footsteps approaching, so she hit the woman and ran out the window. The person who came was Jae Hart, an agent under the North Korean Special Abilities Department. The janitor was a member of the Security Control Department. moment, she turned on the hidden camera screen and started searching for Mi-hyun. The mission of the North Korean agents this time was to destroy the South Korean mutant training plan. They had to eliminate those involved and bring back documents about the young mutants. The mission commanders were Jun and Jung Dam. They rushed into the guidance room to get the documents. The janitors searched for a long time, but still couldn't find Mi-hyun. Jae-hart offered to help, but she refused. At this time, they saw Bo-gum struggling to do something in the teacher's room. Jae-hart went there to check. Suddenly, several cameras were blurred. Mi-hyun was using snow to block the enemy's vision, but the janitor saw it in time. The door to the electrical room moved before it closed. Mi-hyun immediately turned off the circuit breaker. The whole school was immediately plunged into darkness. Outside, Hanbin saw the school gate open, so he ran in. Jun didn't say anything more. He just needed the documents about the children. Teacher Jong Kyung came to open the cabinet and took out the baton. He was ready to fight. Jung Dam saw that and immediately entered the room. Ji-sung challenged him that if he dared to take another step, Ji-sung would kill him. Because there was no electricity, Kang-hoon had to go home. He had just left the self-study room when he encountered the person who had fought with Ji-sung. He was a mutant with the same power as him and his father. At this time, his mother was worried, so she called Kang-hoon. But before he could answer her, Chan-yu attacked him. Kang-hoon's mother heard her son screaming, so she panicked and told Jae-mon. Bo-gum couldn't find anything in the teacher's room. When he was about to leave, he met Jae-hart. Jae-hart thought Bo-gum was a mutant, so he wanted to check it out. Suddenly, Jong Kyung rushed to hit Jong Dam, but Jong Dam didn't dodge. Seeing that, Jong Kyung rushed up and broke Jong Dam's leg. He could handle things here, so he let Jong Kyung go find the other students. On this side, the janitor entered the electricity room. She was about to attack Mi-hyun when she was shot in the head and died on the spot. At the same time, Jong Kyung followed the scream to save Bo-gum, but the opponent is a mutant with super senses, and he is well trained, so Jong Kyung is not his opponent. Jong Kyung can only shield Bo-gum. Jong Kyung begs him to spare Bo-gum. After Ji-sung finished dealing with Jong Dam, he planned to deal with Jun as well. But at this moment, the man who attacked Jesu called Ji-sung. Unexpectedly, Jong Dam also had the ability to recover. Ji-sung was attacked by surprise, so he lost the advantage, and his face was punched. At the gym, Jesu and Bong Suk joined forces to fight the man. Although Bong Suk could fly, he didn't know how to fight, and Jesu was kicked away every time he got close to him. As a result, Bong Suk got caught in a net, and Jesu fainted. On this side, Ji-sung was punched continuously and had no time to recover. At this time, Jun came over and said that it was all Do-sik's fault. Mi-hyun got angry when he mentioned her husband. She immediately shot Chan-yu in the head to save Jong Kyung and Bo-gum. The two quickly went to the next room to take refuge, while Mi-hyun and Chan-yu fought each other. Both of them were mutants with super senses. Unfortunately, Mi-hyun was much more powerful. She relied on the reflection on the faucet to make Jae-hart lose focus for a moment, but that was enough time for her to kill him. Teacher Jong Kyung told Bo-gum to quickly leave the Dao school. He was hesitating whether to go or not when he heard someone crying. Bo-gum went inside and found out that the person was Han Bin. Bo-gum rushed in to comfort her. After Jun and Jung Dam beat Ji-sung unconscious, the two of them were about to go find the documents when they encountered Mi-hyun. They confronted each other through the mirror on the stairs. Jun Hwang at the sports center mocked Bong Suk for being too weak, but Bong Suk looked very much like someone he knew, Agent Do-sik. Bong Suk was surprised when he heard him mention his father's name. On this side, Mi-hyun only wanted to know one thing, which was what happened to Do-sik. Recalling that year, the top secret mission that Do-sik received was to assassinate the leader of North Korea. Relying on his flying ability and extraordinary shooting skills, Do-sik quickly broke through the defenses and entered the interior. At that time, Jun and the other soldiers were easily defeated by Do-sik. Jun tried his best to shoot Do-sik but failed. He also lost a finger, but at that time, Do-sik also killed the leader. After that event, North Korea also wanted mutants like South Korea, so the North Korean leader forgave Jun. He let Jun take on the mission of finding mutants to serve the country. The process was extremely brutal. After the North Korean soldiers went through countless harsh training sessions, they were forced to stand on the edge of life and death. Because there was no time to wait for their abilities to manifest, Jun had to resort to this cruel method. No one knows how many innocent lives were unjustly killed just to find the mutant. When Jun Hwang knew that he had the ability to fly, he was not happy, because Jun Hwang never wanted to become an elite warrior. Jun Hwang just just wanted to be a normal soldier to help his country. Dok Jun threatened Jun Hwan's family to force him to obey. The year Do-sik's family was separated, Song-gu also threatened his relatives. Do-sik had to do the mission, or his whole family would have to run away for life. Do-sik had to be the one to do the mission because only he knew where that place was. Song-gu promised that after this mission, he would not force Do-sik to do it again because he knew that Do-sik would not be able to survive and return. In order to capture Do-sik, North Korea had to pay a huge price. Although Do-sik only shot under the ribs to save the other soldiers, from the moment they let Do-sik enter the North Korean leader's room, they had already determined that they were abandoned by their country. That's why Dok Jun hated Do-sik very much. He had guessed the relationship between Do-sik and Mi-hyun. Dok Jun spoke while secretly taking out a weapon from his pocket. Luckily, Mi-hyun could clearly hear the sound that had just come from his pocket. She took the initiative to attack first, but unfortunately was shot. Her wound left a long trail of blood on the stairs. On this side, Bong-seok knew that Jun Hwang was the one who had captured his father. He was extremely agitated. His anger helped Bong-seok concentrate and control his flight better. His super senses helped Bong-seok dodge Jun Hwang's counterattack. Not only that, Bong-seok also controlled him. Bong-seok shouted loudly for Hae-soo, making her wake up. Hae-soo remembered the teacher's words. She cooperated very well with Bong-seok. They successfully beat Jun Hwang unconscious on the spot. Kang-hoon has extraordinary speed and superior strength like Chan Yu, but he has no real combat experience, so he was beaten very miserably. Dok Jun sent Jung Dam to find Jang Kyung and the documents, and he would go check on his teammates. He remembered that year, Jung Dam, despite being injured, still tried to climb a high cliff because he wanted to survive to serve his country. Dok Jun suddenly wanted to say something, but had to stop. Meanwhile, Mi-hyun hid in the bathroom to bandage her wound. Dok Jun went outside and went to the power room. This was where his teammates were killed. His old age made Ji-sung's injuries heal more slowly. The phone vibrated, and his wife's voice in his subconscious woke him up. The caller was Mi-hyun. She said that she and Ji-sung needed to join forces to protect the children. Dok Jun saw that Jae-hart was dead. He immediately called the last mutant to fight. At the same time, Jae-man was running like the wind on the street. The probation department quickly received the signal from his anklet. They immediately confirmed it with the local police. Kang-hoon was very angry, but could not do anything to Chan Yu. However, Kang-hoon never gave up. Kang-hoon still breathed. He still fought. Hae-soo and Han Bin were discovered by Dok Jun. After Dok Jun determined that the other party was just two normal students, he told them to hide well and left. At the same time, teacher Jang Kyung came to free Kang-hoon. Although he could not fight back, he still tried his best. He was determined not to let Chan Yu hurt his students. Kang-hoon was about to take the opportunity to shoot when Chan Yu threw the teacher at him. The two teachers and students were beaten to near death. While Kang-hoon thought he was about to die, someone called his name, shaking the whole space. It was Jae-man coming to save his beloved son. He used all his strength to beat Chan Yu. Jae-man slammed him into the wall and then onto the floor. Chan Yu was completely passive. He didn't have a chance to counterattack because Jae-man didn't give him a chance to breathe. Jung-dam heard the sound of fighting and went towards it, but Ji-sung immediately stopped him. The two big men rushed to fight. Blood from their noses and mouths splattered all over their faces. At this point, Jae-man's match also came to an end. Chan Yu was thrown out the window, life and death unknown. Outside, Ji-sung screamed. He used all his strength to knock Jung-dam down. Jung-dam lay unconscious on the floor. Jae-man tried to chase Chan Yu, but was stopped by Kang-hoon. Kang-hoon didn't want him and his father to be apart anymore. Jae-man looked at his son covered in injuries and was extremely heartbroken. He thought this was the end, but suddenly a strange man appeared in the building opposite. His name was Jae-such. His family crossed the border to South Korea, but failed and were caught. The adults were executed, and he was locked in a dark prison for the rest of his life. Many people were sent here, but they all had the same ending. Death. Only Jae-such survived, and he gradually got used to life in this darkness. The bugs from the rotting corpses haunted him. Jae-such always felt itchy and wanted to kill them. There were countless handprints of Jae-such on the wall. Then one day, Do-sik came. At that time, Jae-such was starting to get bored of living with those bugs. Jae-such wanted to end his own life but was stopped. At that time, Do-sik told them to survive together and not give up. Jae-such now turned towards Ji-sung's group and made a hand-clapping gesture. A sound wave was released, destroying a classroom. Teacher Jang Kyung went in to check on Jae-man and Kang-hoon. Ji-sung saw this and ran in another direction to distract them. The first sound wave had weakened the structure of this area a lot, so when the school was hit by the second sound wave, it collapsed. Ji-sung tried to run as fast as he could to stop Jae-such, but he was pushed away. In the rubble, Jae-man caught the large concrete blocks that were continuously falling towards them. On this side, Bong-seok flew to check on on Jesu's injuries. Although she said she wasn't injured, he was still very worried. At this time, Bong Seok accidentally said he liked Jesu. What a coincidence that she also liked him. At this time, the phone call woke up Jun Hwang nearby. Dok Jun ordered him to go to school immediately because the plan had failed. 2 people were destroyed by Mi Hyun. Bong Seok, of course, heard the content of that short conversation. Jun Hwang used a gun to threaten the 2 people not to follow him. Bong Seok did not listen, so he immediately fired, but Hae So blocked him in time. The continuous use of sound waves made Jae-suk exhausted. Ji-sung was also quite injured, but still could not get close to him. Kang-hoon tried his best to punch through the wall next to him to make an escape, despite Jae-man constantly shaking his head because he did not want his son to be injured. Not long after, Kang-hoon also successfully freed the 3 people. In the past, Ji-sung took the bullet for Do-sik's wife, but now Ji-sung's daughter took the bullet for Do-sik's son. Hae-soo let Bong Seok fly to school first. She would run after him. At first, Bong Seok was still staggering, but very quickly he controlled the direction of the flight and started to speed up. Jae-man let Jang Kyung take his son first, and he would destroy the person who harmed Kang-hoon. Jae-man cooperated with Ji-sung. The 2 of them finally defeated Jae-suk. When he was about to create a sound wave again, Jae-man rushed in to continuously physically impact. Ji-sung broke one of Jae-suk's arms, but Jung-dam had already recovered. As soon as he recovered, Jung-dam rushed to attack Ji-sung. At the same time, Mi-hyun just stepped out and saw Chan-yu dying. He didn't understand why she wanted to kill him. Mi-hyun said that she could turn into a monster just to save her son. Because Gildo touched Bong Seok's power bank, he knew who Hae-soo and Bong Seok really were. He accidentally saw Hae-soo covered in blood, running across the street. She quickly said she had to go to school and ran away. Gildo remembered the man who followed her, so he drove towards Jong-won's school. On this side, Ji-sung was attacked by Jung-dam. Ji-sung was too lazy to fight him. Jung-dam attracted Jae-man's attention to rescue Jae-suk. Jae-suk looked at the person who had treated him well. Being beaten, he wanted to help, but only had one hand. Remembering the time when Dok Jun wanted to take him on a mission, Jae-suk was afraid of the light, so he kept begging to stay in prison. At that time, Jung-dam avoided the light and convinced him to go out. The next time he returned, Jung-dam gave Jae-suk a pair of sunglasses. He had always silently protected Jae-suk, and now Jae-suk wanted to protect Jung-dam in return. Jae-suk let himself fall out the window so that his remaining hand touched the ground. The height from the window to the ground created a sound wave that caused part of the building to collapse. Ji-sung got caught on a steel bar, his hand still holding Jae-man. He kept calling, but Jae-man did not wake up. Ji-sung had to take the momentum to jump up first. On the schoolyard, Hanbin and Bo-gum welcomed teachers Jong Kyung and Kang-hoon. When Jae-man woke up, Ji-sung immediately told Jae-man to go to his son and not worry about him. Then he escaped from the steel bar. Ji-sung had just climbed up when he was shot in the face. The shooter was Jun Hwang. Mi-hyun immediately shot him and found a place to hide. She was injured, so her vision was limited. The current situation was quite unfavorable for Mi-hyun. In the rubble, Jae-suk tried to tell Jung-dam to leave and live like a human. Right after that, Jae-suk died. At the same time, Mi-hyun shot Jun Hwang but did not cause enough damage. While the 2 were shooting at each other, Mi-hyun's gun ran out of bullets, so she was cornered. At this moment, Bong Seok rushed to attack Jun Hwang to save his mother. This scene made Mi-hyun extremely panicked and worried. Bong Seok tried his best to fight and wrestle with Jun Hwang, but because he had no help from others, he was quickly controlled by Jun Hwang. Gildo saw the 2 people struggling in the sky. He immediately stepped on the gas, knocked down the school gate, and ran into the yard to find a way to help Bong Seok. When the car and the 2 people were about to collide, Gildo suddenly turned the wheel. Bong Seok quickly turned to avoid the car, and the car eventually flipped over. Bong Seok was also freed, but was still safe. Jun Hwang's bullet had taken away one of Ji-sung's eyes, but that did not reduce his fighting spirit. Bong Seok intended to fly to wrestle with Jun Hwang again, but he pointed the gun at Bong Seok. At this time, Mi-hyun also reached the rooftop. She raised the gun towards Dok Jun and silently signaled her son to run away quickly. Bong Seok hesitated, not knowing what to do. At this time, Jung-dam was crying and wandering around the street, and he accidentally bumped into Hae-soo. Hae-soo saw his hand bleeding and kept crying, so Hae-soo could not bear to leave. She tiptoed and patted Jung-dam's back to comfort him. While the other 4 and Mi-hyun were struggling, Gildo tried to climb out of the car. Gildo took off his shoes and gloves, then he touched the battery and charged his body. At this time, Dok Jun calmly pointed the gun at Mi-hyun because he knew her gun was out of bullets. Suddenly, Bong Seok rushed towards Dok Jun. At the same time, Jun Hwang fired. At the dangerous moment, the lightning ball was thrown to block the bullet for Bong Seok. It also destroyed Jun Hwang's gun-holding hand. Dok Jun quickly chased Jun Hwang back to North Korea. Bong Seok rushed over. He instinctively pointed the gun at Bong Sok but then let go. Mi-hyun and Ji-sung took the opportunity to attack Dok-jun. As a result, Dok-jun almost fell down. He had to hold on to Ji-sung to avoid falling. Mi-hyun quickly asked for news of her husband. When receiving the mission, Dok-jun asked his superiors. Over the past 50 years, South Korea and North Korea have sent many people to spy on each other, which has caused many agents and soldiers to die unjustly. But the ones who deserve to die the most are the leaders of both sides. The innocent people, those who force them to sacrifice, are the ones who are guilty. Dok-jun wanted to end the injustice of his generation because he saw that this war was meaningless, so he let go to free himself. When the police arrived in front of the school, they were stopped by security. He gave them his phone to talk to the chief. The purpose was to prevent the police from interfering with what was happening in the school. At this time, Hae-soo had also arrived at school. Before, Mom had carried Bong-suk. Now it was his turn to carry her. Now Bong-suk was really grown up, and so was Hae-soo. Today was the graduation ceremony, but Bong-suk did not come. After Hae-soo took a commemorative photo with her father, she went back to class to get her raincoat. Teacher Jong Kyung decided to give the document to someone who could protect it so he would feel more secure. Although Hae-soo had just transferred to the school not long ago, she had already gone through a lot with Bong-suk here. Unfortunately, she couldn't see him today. The locker was empty and there was no raincoat, but this made Hae-soo very happy. After graduating, Kang-hoon decided to work for Sang-gu on the condition that Sang-gu had to erase his father's criminal record. But Sang-gu didn't agree right away because he wanted to think more. As soon as Kang-hoon left, two people walked in, the school security guard and the bullied female student Hee-won. The special thing was that Sang-gu respected her very much. One by one, the people involved in the training of mutants in the two regions died. The first person to be killed was department head Kim. Junhwang returned to report to his superiors. Junhwang wanted to know what he would do with the document. He said he wanted to study and use it. Junhwang heard that and immediately pulled out his gun and shot his superior dead. Then he went to the prison to release Dusik so that Dusik could go back and protect his son. Sang-gu was the next to be killed. Now the mutants can live like normal people. Everything has returned to normal. Mi-hyun continues to sell fried meat. Ji-sung sells fried chicken and has a new employee. Bong-suk uses his ability to save people. He has fulfilled his childhood dream and his family has been reunited. It is a happy ending for the mutants. However, those who want to take advantage of mutants still exist. Frank, the person who was assigned to destroy the previous generation of mutants, is not dead yet. He is said to be missing, so the US side sent another mutant to continue the unfinished mission. Today's movie ends here. See you again in the next videos.